Yields back. Chair to recognize Mr. Casar from Texas.
Good morning. Mr. Krikorian, you're an advisory board member for Project 2025, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Krikorian, in addition to being a Project 2025 board member, you also run the Center for Immigration Studies. You've done that for decades, where you spread and disseminated writings of people like Kevin McDonald, John Friend, and Jared Taylor, correct?
We used to have an email service that distributed links to
those
op-eds.
to their writings. That's
and
right.
And the New York Times and all kinds of other.
Correct. And you,
across
so
the board.
yes, I know that you're aware that you spread the writings of these three along with others, but these three are egregious examples. McDonald is the editor of a white nationalist journal. Your organization, as you said, disseminated his writings. He blamed Jewish people for the deaths of millions of people in the 20th century. John Friend, who you just said you disseminated his writings, is an infamous Holocaust denier. You spread his writings. Jared Taylor stated, quote, and I quote, this horrible quote, that when black people are left on their own, civilization disappears, end quote. That's what he said.
Not
you, a
anything
Project
we
2025.
We distributed only.
You only distributed. Correct. I understand. I'm
immigration
reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman. Correct. You only disseminated writings
Nor
from
did we
multiple white
research the
nationalists.
background
Reclaiming my
of
time.
every
I'm going to
person
ask you a question, sir. I'm going to ask you the next
wrote
question.
about immigration.
Reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman. I'd like that time back. So you, a Project 2025 board member, you're stating you did not disseminate, for example, Mr. Taylor and Mr. McDonald or Mr. Friend's specific quotes here, but you continuously disseminated these white nationalists' writing. One time is a problem. When you do it over and over and over again, it's a pattern. But I'll stop asking about the things that you and your organization disseminated. I'll ask you, Mr. Krikorian, and I know you're a Project 2025 board member, your recent quote from a few years ago where you said, quote, Haiti is so screwed up because it wasn't colonized long enough, end quote. Is that correct? Did you say that?
I'm happy to talk about that all you want.
You did say it, that's right.
I wrote it, yes.
You said that. Haiti was colonized as a slave plantation colony. The French colonized Haiti so that slaves would work on plantations. The end of colonization in Haiti was so that the people there would no longer be slaves. So what you're saying, and I read your quote, and anybody watching this online should go read it. What you're saying is it would have been good if they'd stayed colonized, which means that it would have been good if they had stayed enslaved by the French.
In the long run, it's one of the
in the long run,
history. No,
people shouldn't have been enslaved a single day. I'm reclaiming my time, Chairman.
And they had every right. They had every right to throw the.
What
French
you said
out.
is that
My
you would have
point
wanted
is,
them. Reclaiming my time. I'm talking now.
They would have been freed
You
30
said
years later,
you said,
and they would have been in the same situation.
You're saying you wanted 30 more years of slavery in Haiti. Reclaiming my time.
I did
You
not.
just said it.
I do not
Honestly,
want that.
it adds up. You said that they would have benefited from the French influence.
In
the
the
French
long
were
run,
the ones.
like the people in Martinique and
Reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman. I'd like my time back. Please,
enslaved.
my time. This is my time, Mr. Krikorian.
They are much better off.
Honestly,
now
this
than
all
Haiti
starts
was.
to add up. This all starts to add up. You continue to do this, disseminate writings of white nationalists, try to rationalize, for example, Haiti being colonized for 30 more years. You're a Project 2025 board member. In Project 2025, I couldn't figure out why on page 583, it advocates for not allowing racial disparity or gender disparity to be considered discrimination legally anymore. In Project 2025, it eliminates a 50-year-old executive order that prohibits discrimination in federal jobs. On page 586, Project 2025 advocates for Donald Trump to allow businesses to discriminate based on religious beliefs. Before today, I couldn't understand why Trump's Project 2025 could advocate for ending civil rights protections. Why would Trump's Project 2025, I know there's crazy stuff in here, but I couldn't get why it would advocate for ending protections against discrimination. But now I understand. We have Project 2025 board members here who are the directors of groups that the Southern Poverty Law Center has designated as a hate group. We have people that are on the board that developed this who have said, for example, that Haitians would have been better off with more influence from their enslavers. Now, with my time remaining, which I believe should be added, Mr. Chairman, because I was interrupted and I reclaimed that time, I have questions for Ms. Gunasekara. You served as chief of staff at the EPA in the Trump administration, correct?
Yes.
And you've worked with the Trump and his administration to implement your ideas in the past, correct?
Yes.
you authored Chapter 13 of Project 2025, correct?
Yes.
So you would support the ideas in Chapter 13 being implemented by the government?
I believe they are very good ideas for the next EPA.
Yes, you would support those?
Yeah.
So if Trump was president and he reached out to you and said he wanted to implement your chapter of Project 2025, would you support him in implementing that chapter? Would you say yes?
Time's expired, but you can answer that. I gave you 15 seconds.
Yeah, I don't.
No, they interrupted me for.
Well,
at least-
I'm the chairman of the committee. I decide. I gave you 15
I'd
more seconds.
like to appeal that ruling,
Well,
Mr. Chairman.
look, you got your time. Answer with the witness. Feel free to answer the question, and then I'm going to recognize Mr. Fry.
Yeah, I don't believe he would call me and ask to do that.
Right, but if he did, you would want him to implement. You do want him to implement you.
Again, I don't believe that he would call and ask me to do that.
I understand. Do you
All right.
want it? Mr. Chairman, I'd like to. I make
Expired
a
on
motion
the
to appeal the
Harris-Biden
ruling.
agenda.
I'd like to appeal the ruling,
No,
Mr. Chair.
no. Chair now recognizes.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
South
Isn't it
Carolina,
within the rules for me
Fry.
to appeal the ruling of the chair and ask for a vote?
It's not an appealable rule. I gave you extra time. The ranking member went a minute over. I gave the ranking member 6.5 minutes. He took 7.5 minutes.
I was interrupted.
So I've been-
consistently.
Yeah, I think you guys are doing okay, Mr. Chairman. All right, we'll let it rest with that, and you'll see what happens in the next Congress, because we're going to be
Well, we've
fastidious
already
about the
read
rules in
that
the next
you
Congress. We're
want
going to show you how to do
everybody,
it.
so that's
Yes.
good. That's
Yeah.
good. All right. Chair now recognizes, because the committee's about waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement. This is a hearing about
and you
policy. This is
exemplify
a
it well, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
no,
I
you
concede that.
exemplify it.
So
This is a hearing about substantive policy. If you want to defend the policies of the current administration, if you want to talk about Kamala Harris's agenda, her policy positions, please do so, because we're not very clear what they are. Chair now recognizes Mr. Fry from